What up?
Hello.
They called him Deadshot. Called Idris Elba Deadshot. I couldn't believe it. So it's like the tweet goes, some know him as Stringer Bell with a picture from the TV show, and then another picture of him as Bloodsport from Suicide Squad. But one of the caption list, some know him as Deadshot. Happy birthday, Idris Elba.
Oh wow, you did that, or
No, Warner Brothers did that. Fucking Warner Brothers did that.
Their own fault.
On the same day, we're talking about Gentleman's Agreement.
And Karen.
Karen. It's just so casually.
Best kind, isn't it?
Oh my god. So good.
All right. We are live on YouTube. Okay, that's done. I got this ready to go. You saw Shang-Chi, right?
Yeah.
All right, good. So I got Shang-Chi, Afterlife of the Party, Worth, Karen, We Need to Do Something, and Gentleman's Agreement.
Yeah.
All right. You ready then?
Sure.
All right. Let's get the music ready and we'll go. Welcome to the Everyone's a Critic movie review podcast. I'm your co-host, Bob Zarrell. With me, as always, is professional film critic Sean Patrick. Visit us at ihatecritics.net, everyone's a critic podcast.com. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Our handle is CriticsPod. Like us there. Subscribe to the show. Listen to the show at Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Alexa, all your podcatchers. I think there's some new ones coming out. I think Facebook and Amazon Music are adding podcasts. We're not there yet, but we should be here shortly. Anyway, give us a 5-star review and we'll read your review on the air and you'll be entered into a contest. If you go to our Facebook or Twitter page, pinned to the top is details on the contest, a chance to, or you'll win a Blu-ray for, what was the name of the company?
Well Go USA. You go to look their roster of movies, you'll see many of the ones that will be offering a chance for you to win. And we've given one away. Ian was a winner of one recently, and thank you to him for being part of the show.
Yes, and I believe there was another person earlier on, a couple of weeks
Jeff,
before that.
I owe Jeff. I still haven't got his yet. I think I'll see. I think I'm going to see Jeff, and then I don't end up seeing him because my fault, entirely on me.
Patreon.com/criticspod is the best way to support the podcast, and then TeePublic is our merch company. If you go to ihatecritics.net, up in the right-hand corner, there's a TeePublic link. Or if you just want to go to TeePublic and search for Critics Pod or Everyone's Critic Movie Review Podcast, our stuff is there as well. Then we're live on YouTube whenever we record, but we will post the link on Facebook and Twitter when we go live. Subscribe to us there. Click on the little bell at the top of the page to get notified, and we can start the show. Let's share my screen for the YouTube people. You can watch us live as well and watch the show later on YouTube. But with the YouTube people, we'll start with, or everybody, Shang-Chi, The Legends of Ten Rings.
Yes, so The Legend of Ten Rings. Shang-Chi stars Simu Liu as a young man who was trained by his father as a very young person to be an assassin and a killer. He escaped from his dad, refused to carry out one final assassination when he was only 14 years old, and instead disappeared into San Francisco and spent the next 10 years there, just kind of hiding out, staying away from him while his dad was building this massive criminal empire. The 10 rings are the things that give his father power. He found them 1,000 years ago and has been alive for over 1,000 years now because of these rings and their power. His father has built this massive criminal empire now, and Shang-Chi has to make the decision then to go against his father and not be a criminal and not be a killer, and also defend his mother's village, which is this kind of magical realm hidden by a maze of moving trees and hidden in a countryside that is kind of hiding basically a hellmouth that the father is being sort of drawn to by the demons inside. He thinks it's his late wife, which there's a really lovely story there actually about how he was a criminal for 1,000 years who toppled governments and murdered people. Then he met this woman and fell in love and gave all that up, even put away the 10 rings, and was beginning to grow older for a time. And then when his wife was killed, he went bad again, and that's where the whole story kind of begins there. That is weaved in so beautifully. It's really incredibly well done. This is directed by Destin Daniel Cretton, who did Just Mercy and Short Term 12 and The Glass Castle. He's an incredible director, and he did an amazing job on this. He makes such great visual choices, and the way he layers in this story, the first time we see Shang-Chi do like the big karate scenes, it's not him just finding out, oh, I have all these weird powers that I didn't know I had. No, he always knew he always knew this stuff. And we get to find it out as Aquafina is finding it out. She's his best friend for the past 10 years, and she didn't know he was a secret ninja assassin. So there's a lot of fun from that relationship. That's also not a romantic relationship, and it never really develops into a romantic relationship. There is really no romantic leading lady, which is another interesting, kind of change to the formula, because you might expect that, and then it's very unexpected that it doesn't go there, but it opens up other storytelling possibilities for the future. And there's a lot of great storytelling possibilities for the future of this character in this universe. There's a lot of connections to Doctor Strange. We get to a lot of those kind of layered in throughout, in fact, not just merely in the post-credit scenes. A lot of interesting stuff. I really like this. This is a really good movie.
Yeah, and Disney kind of went out of their way to prove Scarlett Johansson's case by
releasing it out in theaters.
Yeah, and it doing very, very well.
$70 million, yeah.
So I don't know what comes of that, but I was kind of
at a perhaps even a more irresponsible time.
Right, no kidding. Yeah, because I mean, if I probably would have, I did not go to the theaters because I'm still not ready. I'm getting close. I might go next week. I'm getting to the point where it's like, you know what? If you don't get the vaccine, fuck you. I hope I give it to you and you die. There's part of me there's that part of me that does exist. I don't mean to be like that, but I really want to see the Oscar Isaac movie next week.
Is the card counter coming next week?
I thought so, maybe not.
I have no idea when it's coming. I have no idea at all about that movie.
I thought it was next week, but I don't really have any question. I don't know anything about this character.
I didn't know anything about this character prior to this movie.
I listened to a podcast called Tell Them Steve Dave that gradually and occasion talks about comic books, because it's the guys from the old comic book men that's no longer on TV, but on occasion they talk about it, and they were really excited about this one. But that was kind of all I know about it.
I went into this not even knowing that Destin Daniel Cretton was directing this, which was a really nice surprise, because I'm a huge fan. I've liked all of his movies thus far, and yes, I was once I saw his name pop up, I'm like, oh wow, I didn't even know. So that was a little extra excitement to start the movie for me.
It's awesome. And it's doing really well. And I haven't even I've hardly seen any marketing on it. I mean, I don't watch a lot of TV, I guess, but it's cool that it did so well. And I'm curious how it plays out in the Scarlett Johansson case.
Seems to kind of make her case.
Yeah. Anything else on Shang-Chi?
No. I highly recommend.
All right, let's move on to Afterlife of the Party.
Afterlife of the Party stars Victoria Justice as a party planner and just general party girl celebrating her 25th birthday. She's got a best friend played by Midori Francis, who's more of a homebound person. She likes to go to her job and study and do all that stuff and not spend every night out. And at the very beginning of the movie, they kind of have a big fight about that and a falling out. And it seems like that their friendship might be coming to an end. And then suddenly Victoria Justice's character just dies. She just falls in the bathroom due to her hangover and hits her head on the toilet and boom, dead. She goes to the afterlife where an angel tells her that she's going to have to resolve these three relationships in her life before it can be decided whether she goes to heaven or hell. One of those being her relationship with her best friend, the others being her relationship with her parents, each individually. Her mom left years earlier. Her dad was very doting and devoted, but also kind of a dork. And so she wasn't really particularly close to either of them, probably closer to her dad, but not close enough. She comes back. It's been a year since she's died, and she finds that her father is really depressed. Her best friend is only working and not doing anything else. And her mom has seemingly moved on happily with her new family and seems like she doesn't even remember her from her perspective. And there's a lot actually that's pretty good about that. It's very basic. It's a very basic movie. It's very down the middle. This is directed by a guy Stephen Herrick, who directed Rockstar, and he directed Man of the House with Tommy Lee Jones. He directed The Chaperone with Triple H. Like this is not a first-rate director. He's not a terrible carpenter though, and he's got some pieces here that aren't terrible. And it's really an incredibly low bar for this movie. Kind of made me not hate this a lot, especially because I kind of hated other movies that we watched this week a lot more. It kind of shined a nicer light on this movie, so I didn't mind it so much. I don't hate this.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's good for a Netflix movie, or it works for a Netflix movie, especially one that's not like I'm not the demographic for at all. So it was watchable. It's where it needs to be. It didn't need to go to the theaters. It's not something that, and I don't feel like, 15, 20 years ago, there was a straight to DVD stigma. Then there was I don't feel like Netflix has that stigma the same way straight to DVD as it does. Because I'm more likely to watch it because I'm more likely to watch it.
From a critic's perspective, though, they also gave me the same day. They gave me that same day embargo on the review, so right. But also it also served to lower the bar. Once again, the bar dropped a lot more once I got that.
But not many people are critics, so I don't like. I just like whenever you saw John Travolta or even like a Robert De Niro movie that went straight to DVD, it was just like, oh, I would have heard of that if it was good. These are big.
Yeah.
Now when they go to Netflix, it doesn't mean it's bad right away because some are really good. There's enough there that it's either way. And this is watchable at best. I mean, my daughter didn't want to watch it with us, so it's again a movie for her that she didn't watch.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, when she dies, it's a pretty graphic scene. I mean, she really hits her head on the toilet pretty good.
Yeah.
But it's a throwaway movie that
I gotta say there was a couple of scenes with the dad that were genuinely moving. Like that guy's a really good actor. He really nailed a couple of those scenes.
Yeah, having the yoga mat scene was a really moving scene. But yeah. All right, let's move on to Worth.
And see, this is a movie that I hated, honestly. I thought this was I really think this is a better documentary than it is a potentially a movie. Worth stars Michael Keaton in the true story of Kenneth Feinberg, the man who was made special master of the September 11th Victims Fund in the wake of the September 11th attacks. And he was charged with coming up with a formula for how to pay back the families of the people who died and the first responders who died. And there was never going to be one right way to do that. Plain and simple. I mean, as somebody who's as an accountant, I imagine you could kind of feel for what this guy was going through.
Absolutely.
Thinking in terms of actuarial tables and stuff like that. For me, the biggest issue I have with this movie is Tate Donovan. The character played by Tate Donovan in this movie, who is an amalgamation of a bunch of different characters, is this unnecessary paper villain who is just this mustache twirling asshole. He's the lawyer for the richest people who were in the tower that day, and he's arguing that they should get more of the fund than anybody else because they were super rich and their ability to earn money was higher than everybody else's. And I get that. At the same time, the performance is so bad, and Tate Donovan is so bad at this performance that it ruins the entire movie because he feels like he's a villain out of a Bond movie. Like he's that level of just shit human being that I'm sorry, I just didn't buy that character could even exist. And granted, I know there's a lot of evil fuckers out there. I get that. But just the way the character is played is so bad, especially when you're talking about a movie that is otherwise so straightforward. When you include a Bond villain in a movie that is supposed to be the straightforward, honest, emotional story about 9/11 victims, it feels out of place. It feels wrong. It feels like a screenplay contrivance, and it took me out of the entire movie and made it impossible for me to become involved with it.
Yeah, when you in this particular situation, I mean, sometimes it works, but whenever you have to take 3 or 4 characters and make them one, or even more, and make it one character, in this scenario, that group mentality allows you to understand that side of their argument. But instead of just making it one guy, like you said, it turns into a Bond villain, you know? And I don't agree. I would never agree, even with 10 people that come together with why they think they should deserve more. And but you could at least, you know, there's people that defend murder. I mean, I don't know. People are just doing their jobs, and it's their job to get as much money as possible, and that's heartless and whatever. Mm-hmm. But there's a way to do that right. And like you said, a documentary would have been better. Probably is one. I've never watched it.
Probably is, yeah.
But you can't combine that particular group of people into one character and make it work.
No. And then this one, it becomes fairly obvious too. There may have been a way to make that character work, but not the way that Tate Donovan played him, not the way he was directed to play him. He just came off as just the embodiment of evil.
Right. I thought Michael Keaton was fine, but he was also just kind of doing the Michael Keaton thing. I felt for him. Was it Stanley Tucci, the other one?
Yeah.
I thought he was good too, but not enough to.
It's also like another simplistic aspect of this, though, if you do some research on this, is that he wasn't the Grinch whose heart grew 3 sizes that day, which is the narrative that they play out. He was talking to the victims throughout. They created this narrative where it was his staff was doing all the work, and he was he was staying objective and above it all. And then somebody, Sidney Lou Who walked into his office and told him a sad story, and he became involved. Like that's just shitty. That's a shitty way to tell this story.
Yeah. It's not a job I would want at all.
What is your life worth, Bob?
Right. And that's,
the number, don't you?
But that's an interesting idea that could have been a decent, it could have been a good movie without making it the Grinch, which is kind of how they played it out.
Yeah.
And it started out okay. Like I was interested the first half of the movie, and then it just kind of started unravel's not the right word, but just you fall out of the movie is really what happens, like you said.
Anytime Tate Donovan's on screen, he should just have a stamp on his head that says villain. Like that's how bad it is.
But I could see people loving this movie for the simplicity of it, for the Bond villain, for the cookie cutter characters and whatever.
Yeah, if you're basic, you might like this movie.
It's not our listeners at all. What do we got? Karen
stars Taryn Manning as Karen, who's a woman who lives in this Atlanta suburb that's essentially mostly, if not completely, white. Then these 2 black people move in. This black couple moves in. Corey Hardrick and I can't remember his wife's actress name. They move in next door to her. She immediately just starts lashing out in weird ways, saying weird, awkward things. Not really doing anything to hide just how horrifically racist she is. Just basically kind of polite, but kind of also just awful from the very beginning. The first thing you see of Karen in the movie is her washing a Black Lives Matter thing off the ground. Like just just very obvious. Very, this movie doesn't hide anything. It has zero subtlety to it whatsoever, and that's pretty much the biggest problem. Is that the more interesting story here? There's a woman she's on the housing association, the homeowners association, and there's another character who's actually like just as racist, but very polite and trying to kind of cover up just how racist she is. And that's really the more insidious character. Karen is the easy character. She reveals how horrible, villainous that she is right away. Like, she's not doing anything to pretend she's not who she is. So this vile, almost desperately disturbed, criminal. I mean, she's mentally ill. And racism isn't a mental illness. It's something that just happens every single day. It's something that minorities go through on a regular basis from people that even seemingly call themselves allies can act as racists, as Warner Brothers clearly would say today. They're allies. They believe in Idris Elba. They love Idris Elba. Then they call him by Will Smith's character name. It's just an almost accidental sort of racism. And but that's much more insidious because you're not taking care with it. It's careless. And when you try to assign racism as a mental illness, as this movie does, you're not doing anything. You're not making a good movie. You're making a shitty movie.
Yeah, it's movies like this that when people complain about cancel culture and blah, 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 it's because of you can tell a white person made this movie. If that, and I didn't know that for a fact when I thought that, so I had to look it up just to make sure when I said it on the show. but it's one of those things where, like, the Karen character, at some point you need to understand why she's racist, or at least, like, a good villain doesn't know they're a villain, and you almost know she's trying to be villainous. Like, I don't feel for her at all. There's nothing that she's saying that's, even like the Joker, thinks he's doing the right thing. And I understand that. And here, I know she's supposed to be thinking that, but it's made so poorly that it doesn't come off. I mean, it's just a Freddy Krueger lady named Karen who, and the other characters, the supporting characters, do their best to make her feel sympathetic and make her feel like, they give her a chance. They bring her into their party, that, they're all the different,
exceedingly polite, which is, what you're supposed to do. That's what society asks of you, is to be exceedingly polite. And that's what they are throughout. And that was believable. Certainly that was their part of it.
But the only problem with it is she's so bad. And it's not Karen Manning's fault. It's the character and the direction and the writing. But it's such an unlikable character that I don't believe they would have invited over. It wouldn't have taken much to get it to be believable, but it's so poorly done and almost laughably bad, unfortunately. True. And
the meme itself has more nuance than this movie does. Like, right. The layers of the Karen meme is far more interesting than this movie. And it's also, you can smell the sweaty desperation that they had in trying to get this movie done and out while the Karen thing was still in the culture, while it was still kind of hot, while it still had a little bit of marketing juice to it. Like, you can smell just how desperate they were in the rushed nature of it all. On top of which, there's a secondary villain, Karen's brother, he is an actor straight out of Birdemic or The Room. He's that level of terrible. He cannot do any line readings at all. They're just so flat and monotone and just completely awful. Completely awful.
A movie like this, even if it doesn't work, it should not work in the way like Crash doesn't work, or even American History X, which at the time I liked, but the further away you get from it, the more you can see the holes in it. This isn't even good enough to trick you into liking it for a little while, like those two movies have done to people. So, I mean, I hope not. I can't imagine this movie taking on. I can't believe anybody would fall for something like this. Maybe I'm wrong, but it's bad. I was really disappointed.
On top of which, you're talking about a phenomenon that's happening to, Black people, or in this case, a Black couple, but the movie is called Karen and it's mostly about Karen. And it's like, here we go again. You're reflecting, like, the racism is supposed to be the subject of the story. The people who are being victimized should be the subject of the story, and they're not.
Yeah, and the
There's
one
almost a
character.
subtle accidental racism to that.
Well, that's kind of the problem with like Crash, in my opinion. Same thing here. It's the one character that doesn't work is the character you need to work, and everybody else is doing their best to make it work. And because it's such a bad character, it just ruins the movie. And no, I highly recommend staying away from this one. We need to do something. I didn't have a poster, so here's just a guy screaming.
We Need to Do Something is a new horror film from IFC Midnight, and it tells the story of a family that's caught in a storm, or at least we assume it's a storm. We come in to the movie, on this sort of clouds, wind, trees are blowing. There's lots of weather related things that are taking place, and to the point where the National Weather Service has told people to take shelter, and this family's taking shelter in their very sturdy bathroom, and they figure they'll just have to ride this out for an hour while the storm blows over. But slowly but surely, things begin to come about. A tree gets hit by lightning and falls through their house, and it blocks the door, so they can't get out of the bathroom, and so they're trapped. But then nobody comes, and slowly they sort of layer in and reveal what's might really be happening, which might have some sort of supernatural quality to it. And it's another one of those movies that's also asking a lot of those questions, like, what would you do in this situation? What's the, how do you react to this? How do you interact here? On top of which, there are issues within the family. The father is and the mother and father are fighting. They've been growing further and further distant to the point where one of them's cheating. The daughter is experimenting with her sexuality and started a same-sex relationship, and she hasn't really revealed that to her parents. Lots of things at play here, and I really liked the way that this played out. The further I get away from this movie, the more I like it, the more I'm impressed by the use of the camera and the room, the way he uses the architecture of the bathroom in his way is very interesting, and just the filmmaking in general is really strong. I think this is a really good movie.
Yeah, I love it. It's a lot of fun's not the right word. It's just stressful, intense the whole time. I mean, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So there's this art element to it where you just don't really know what's going on, and the tension just keeps rising throughout. When they work in the supernatural stuff, that adds even more to it. I don't know. It's a movie that just keeps building upon itself till it ends very climactically. I highly recommend it. Only thing I can say, and it has nothing to do, because the cast was great. Everybody in the movie was perfect. Mm-hmm. But I couldn't help but like recast it in my head, and just like got Nicolas Cage playing the dad. I was going to go there. Toni Collette is the mom.
Oh my God.
Maybe even, you don't need to redo the girls, but if you had like Bella Thorne or Florence Pugh, both of them playing the two different characters, you would have like a Mandy level, like messed up little horror movie.
For the people who cross over from professional wrestling, this lead actor who you can see in the photo here, he at times he borders on what we call X-Pac heat, where it's where it's like you're supposed to hate him, but it's like you hate him in a way that is not helpful to the movie. Like not the kind of heat that he's supposed to be drawing.
But the whole end of the movie, I'm sitting there going, man, if they had done this, and this would have been like otherworldly good. But it's still really, really good. And I have nothing bad to say. I don't want to, everybody's fine in it. I don't want to take away from them. But if it was Nicolas Cage and Toni Collette, that'd be fucking amazing.
You can put Nicolas Cage and Toni Collette in Worth, and it might be better, honestly.
They could be the two characters instead of one. Two it being the ones fighting for the rich.
There you go.
And I don't know if she's a female Nicolas Cage, but she does. You need somebody that's willing to go over the top with it, and she has before, and it's usually worked out when she does.
She's bold and daring, just like he is.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to our undisputed classic, the after school special or training video, Gentleman's Agreement.
Gentleman's Agreement, 1947, starring Gregory Peck, Dorothy McGuire, John Garfield, and Colette Holm. And also Dean Stockwell was a little kid. I didn't know that. Dean Stockwell from Quantum Leap is a little kid in the movie.
Nice.
Based off a book by Laura Hobson. It tells the story of a journalist or reporter who gets a job with a magazine and in New York City. And it's a big assignment for him. And the assignment is he has two options. One is one he doesn't care for, and the other one is kind of one that's really kind of bold and interesting. He's going to pretend to be Jewish and experience anti-Semitism and then write an expose on anti-Semitism. And there's a lot of good in that idea. There's a lot of terrible in that idea, but the combination is certainly something that's very striking. And what we get instead of that very interesting premise is a series of very, like you said, after school special, kind of approach, and also just some bizarre choices that are made throughout this movie. Basically, what starts to happen is that he starts to tell people that he's Jewish, and he starts to experience anti-Semitism. People start revealing themselves to him. Dorothy McGuire was maybe the person who inspired the idea for the story. At least that's what we're told. And then she starts to exhibit characteristics of the people who are enacting this very casual anti-Semitism, or at least casual in the sense of just themselves. Like, well, I'm not really anti-Semitic, but at the same time, I understand why people don't want to be around Jewish people, which is anti-Semitic in its statement. It's like that's a fully anti-Semitic statement.
But it's like when you're at work and you have to do those mandatory training videos about, racism or whatever, prejudice. And it's always an over-the-top actor who would say something like that, Well, I get why you wouldn't want to be around them, that kind of, it's so bad and so not how it, like you
zero
said.
Zero subtlety.
Yeah. And it's, then you just start laughing at it and no one's learning anything from this training video. And this, because of the year it comes out, probably helps it not age well. I'm sure it played great way back then and probably meant something, but it does not age well at all.
No, it doesn't. And there's just a weird choices. There's a scene where she takes him to a party, and initially her family doesn't want him to come, and then a bunch of people don't show up because they don't want to be around him because he's Jewish or what. And just that scene happens, but she shows him this house, and they have this wordless scene of her just showing off this vacation home. And I didn't understand why this scene existed. We've already served the point. I guess the point is that later on he's going to offer, he wants her to offer John Garfield the chance to stay there, or she's going to stay there and he stays in the city or whatever. And she becomes uncomfortable about the idea of loaning the house to a Jewish person or whatever. I don't know. I don't understand why that scene happened. It lasted for like 5 minutes, silent scene of just looking at the house. And I'm like, why are you stopping the movie dead to show off this house? You're stopping the entire film to show us this house, and I know it's going to be a plot point, but do something, say something during the scene, make it essential. But that's part of the reason why I nodded off about halfway through. Is I got to that scene and I'm like, nothing's happening, and so I had to go back and start the movie again. Yeah, which it was not fun because this is like homework. Anytime Celeste Holm isn't on screen, I'm like, where's Celeste Holm? Where is she? I want to see her. She's more interesting than everybody else in this movie. And she plays the gossip columnist at the magazine, and she's fun and sexy and flirty and like just brassy and big, and I adored her. I wanted her in the entire movie. I just wanted to see more of her.
Yeah, it's otherwise borderline unwatchable. It's kind of,
honestly, I mean, yeah, this won Best Picture.
Seriously, it's shit like that and movies like this and Crash and whatever. That is why they call it the Hollywood elite, and everybody gets pissed off at the Hollywood media and the liberal Hollywood and all that. It's because it's out of touch. It's they don't understand the subtleties, like you were saying, and they always get it wrong. And I shouldn't say always, but when they get attention like this, I mean, Crash won Best Picture too. So, over Brokeback Mountain. So that's why it has the reputation they have out in Hollywood. So I don't know. It's like you guys could help out so much if you just stop doing this tone deaf bullshit.
It's such a bad approach to an interesting idea.
Right.
I mean, off the cuff, it's kind of like a terrible idea when you really get down to it. Pretending to be Jewish to try and experience anti-Semitism is a really crappy idea. There's a reason why nobody does that. There's a reason why Eddie Murphy made a joke of dressing up like a white guy on Saturday Night Live, because it's funny.
Right. But it doesn't work the other way around.
It's funny and revealing in that way. This is not funny or revealing. This is just Gregory Peck becoming increasingly angry that people won't let him stay places.
Well, and it wasn't trying to be funny, but it's certainly not revealing. And the revealing part is very important. And that's why it works the other way around. But even then, it works as a sketch on SNL, not as a feature-length movie.
Right.
So
it doesn't seem to understand why anti-Semitism is bad, which is the kind of the point. Instead of it kind of like it was to make Dorothy McGuire look bad, and she's like kind of a villain, and then she's not at the end. I don't know. I don't think this. I understand the good intentions. There are good intentions. I gather there's probably good intentions in Crash. I never want to see it again to find out.
Oh, for sure. But that's the problem is, I mean, like you were saying, was it Warner Brothers or was whoever got it wrong? Their intentions weren't bad, but it came off. I mean, it
came off like we can't tell the difference between our two leading black actors in these two movies.
But racism is not always about intentions, There's different subtleties to it, and it's just it's really hard to watch white people try to tell the stories about it, which is what we did this week. All right. This is a fast one, everybody at home. Hope you enjoy it. Episode 499. We got nothing planned for 500. There were two girls. That's true. We do have a show coming for 500.
I've got a good idea.
Awesome. We'll hear about that in a second then. 1991, Nothing of Note, Company Business, and Cast a Deadly Spell. Did you watch either one of those?
No, I don't think I could find either one.
Yeah. Next week, if I'm looking at the numbers right, the website I used to get the new releases, I got The Card Counter, Malignant, Queen Pins, The Voyeurs on Amazon, Dragon Rider, Kate and Prey, 3 different movies, all on Netflix. I'll just ask you for your 500 idea in a second, but 1991, Dogfight, Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare, and Liebestrom are what come out, are 30 years old next week. Nice. What's your idea for 500?
Well, there's a documentary called The Capote Tapes that is coming out next week. And I thought with that, In Cold Blood would be a good classic for the week. I'm also going to watch a movie called Language Lessons. That movie's coming out. And there's another one called that I've already seen that's actually might be already out, called Anne at 13,000 Feet. That is worth taking a look at.
Anne? With an E or without an E?
With an E.
Awesome.
Yeah. Very interesting movie. I'm eager to get people's reaction to that film because it's a challenging one.
Cool. Yeah, and all the movies I listed, I don't know if we're gonna actually watch all of them. They're all coming out, is all I'm saying.
Eventually.
Yeah.
Come out eventually.
Apparently The Lost Daughter never came out, and that was supposed to come out this weekend.
There's a documentary on Muhammad Ali and Malcolm X too. That's going to be on Netflix. And another documentary. Sorry, I'm caught up in documentaries because we're doing the vote. We're doing the. I'm on the jury for the Critics' Choice Documentary Award, and so I've been watching a lot of documentaries, getting ready for that. And there's a documentary that's going to be on Vice tomorrow night called Too Soon: Comedy After 9/11. And it's a really interesting story about how comedians dealt with 9/11 and the way things changed so radically. And yeah, it brought back a lot of emotions, a lot of interesting memories. Gilbert Gottfried at the
I
Friars
asked
Club.
if they did that.
Oh yeah. The part of that nobody knows though is in this documentary. The part of that everybody forgets. They think that Gilbert went down in flames. How he went about winning people back that night is incredible. He did. He
They
walked
made a
off
whole
that stage
documentary
to
about that.
cheers. He walked off that stage to cheers.
Right. Well, they made a whole documentary about that alone, didn't they?
I'm not aware of if they did. Maybe they did.
Yeah, Penn Teller made it.
This is
Or
also
not Penn Teller, Penn Jillette.
there's also there's also a lot about the Onion. They've actually got some really awesome footage from inside the Onion offices in 2001 when they were writing their September 11th episode. They've got a lot about Jon Stewart and a lot about how Muslim comedians went about their life in the immediate aftermath.
The Aristocrats was the name of the movie that came out of it was more than, but came out of the Gilbert Gottfried doing that joke. That sounds interesting. Is Howard Stern and Letterman on there at all?
Howard Stern is mentioned a couple times. Letterman is a big part of it. How everybody looked to Letterman as the leader after 9/11, and how how it changed the Daily Show, and really great stuff throughout. Janine Garofalo becoming the interesting point, how Mark Maron and David Cross and all those guys are doing these September 11th bits, but every time Fox News talks about a comedian after September 11th, Janine Garofalo, everybody wants to go after the girl.
Right. They're probably pissed they're not getting attention, knowing listening to Maron's podcast. That sounds really fascinating.
Yeah, Maron's in there too. He had a lot of battles after September 11th with club owners who didn't want him to do 9/11 bits.
Yeah. So we have a big one next week, a busy one, and it is episode 500. So you'll get your money's worth, which is free. So next week. All right, let's try some flick chart if you're up for it.
All right.
Bad Boys, The Dark Crystal.
Bad Boys.
Agreed. The Abyss, Hot Fuzz.
Flip a coin.
Hot Fuzz.
That's fine.
Be Kind, Rewind, James and the Giant Peach.
Be Kind, Rewind.
Yeah, I enjoyed that movie.
It's kind of charming.
Yeah. Came out after VHS was dead, though.
Yeah.
The Electric Horseman, Blue Velvet.
I don't think I've seen The Electric Horseman. I need to.
I don't know if I need to or not. I haven't seen it either. Black Hawk Down or Blue Velvet?
Black Hawk Down for me. I'm not a huge Blue Velvet fan.
Yeah, I feel like I'm supposed to say Blue Velvet, but I never want to watch it. It's too much. I love Black Hawk Down. I like David Lynch a lot, but that's a lot of work. 28 Weeks Later, Annie Hall. Read Phantom of the Paradise. Toy Story. What is Phantom of the Paradise?
Phantom of the Paradise is oh man, it's like Phantom at a disco, I guess. Phantom of the Opera, but in a disco.
Thank you. Escape from New York.
With Paul Williams, I believe it is.
Escape from New York, X-Men 2.
Escape from New York.
Yes. Beverly Hills Ninja,
Ratatouille.
Yep. This is the end. The Cider House Rules.
This is the end by a lot. Not a movie.
Super Mario Brothers, Team America, World Police.
Team America.
Lost in Translation, Turner and Hooch.
Lost in Translation.
Independence Day, Halloween 2.
Independence Day.
Yes. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
It's Crouching Tiger.
The Super, Sky High.
Sky High.
Love that movie. It, Empire Records.
It.
Empire Records with the sequel is bad.
I love Empire Records. I think it's great. I don't like it that much. I don't know. I've got a bad feel. I'm still pissed off about the extended cut of Empire Records being so bad that that it's kind of tainted my memory of Empire Records.
I've never watched the extended cut, so
it's so bad.
But the fact that it too is so bad, I don't know.
I actually can't remember how I feel about it anymore. I really can't remember how I feel about either of them.
Well, the coin flip said the Empire Records. So
that's fine.
Miller's Crossing, Enter the Dragon.
Miller's Crossing.
Agreed. Beethoven, Treeless Mountain.
I've not seen Treeless Mountain.
Beethoven, Heathers.
Heathers.
Yes. And then 3, Once Upon a Time in the West.
Once Upon a Time in the West.
King Kong 2005, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
I don't care. I don't remember how I feel about either of those. Both have completely slipped from my memory. I know I've seen them. I know I wrote about them. I probably need to read my review to figure out which one I cared about.
Well, George picked King Kong. Because I don't have an opinion either. Ooh.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Wow. K-Pax or Avatar? I mean, I think it's Avatar, isn't it?
Avatar, yeah. K-Pax is just, it's so much worse than everything. So,
unless Nicolas Cage was in it.
A low bar sneaks Avatar over.
Les Mis, The Fast and the Furious.
Well, that's just mean.
Yes, it is.
Les Mis.
Super 8, Freddy versus Jason.
Damn it. I like both those movies. Which one do you like?
I mean, they're both fine, but Freddy versus Jason doesn't deserve to be as good as it is, which kind of makes me want to pick it over Super 8, where it's J.J. Abrams, Steven Spielberg, and it's their best movies.
It should have been better with the, yeah. Freddy versus Jason.
Avengers, Age of Ultron, The Replacements.
Avengers, yeah. Replacements is terrible.
Yeah, it is. I hate Age of Ultron. Batman Begins, Weird Science.
Batman Begins.
3. On Her Majesty's Secret Service.
Ratatouille. Very easy choice for me.
Not a bomb film. The Big Short, Shallow Hal.
Big Short. I love Shallow Hal.
Atonement, The Whole 9 Yards.
The Whole 9 Yards. Atonement is homework.
Yeah, Whole 9 Yards is fun. Virgin Suicide, the Manchurian Candidate.
Virgin Suicide.
Tooth and Nail. Last Commander, Far Side of the World.
I'm not familiar with Tooth and Nail.
Oh,
Master and Commander.
Marty, Porky's.
Marty?
I don't know it, but I'll go with you. Those better actors.
I think we should watch Marty sometime as a classic.
Yeah. Triple X.
I hate them both. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I have it out for Vin Diesel lately, so I'm going to make sure, but that's not fair. It has nothing to do with the movies. Let's see what George says. He doesn't. He likes Vin Diesel. Triple X wins. Nightcrawler, Bad Boys 2.
Nightcrawler all the way.
Yojimbo, Dogma.
Fuck! I love Yojimbo.
Yeah, Yojimbo is awesome.
Fuck. But I would watch Dogma anytime anybody asked me.
I'd watch Dogma every day. At one point I did. Now you can't find it anywhere.
Dogma.
Yeah. It's not. I mean, Yojimbo's better, but
absolutely. Unequivocally.
Moonrise Kingdom, Congo.
Moonrise Kingdom, all the way. Love Moonrise Kingdom. Great movie.
Scary Movie 2, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban.
Harry Potter.
Yep. Too Fast, Too Furious, Triple X.
Too Fast, Too Furious.
Then Sherlock Holmes, A Game of Shadows, Revenge of the Nerds.
This is how much I hate Revenge of the Nerds. I'm picking Sherlock Holmes 2.
Parasite, Panic Room.
Parasite.
Yeah. Rogue One, Just Married.
Rogue One.
Yeah. Almost Famous, The Indian in the Cupboard.
It's almost famous.
Black Panther, Sherlock Holmes.
Black Panther.
Life of Brian, Little Ford, Leroy.
Never heard of it.
Life of Brian, Snowpiercer.
Snowpiercer.
Agree. Fever Pitch, Sweet Home Alabama.
Fever Pitch. I hate Sweet Home Alabama so much.
Yeah, Sherlock Holmes, A Game of Shadows, The Scent of a Woman.
Gotta pick Sherlock Holmes again. It's not a good movie. It's just better than the shit it's against.
One's so bad. Ghost, Sideways.
Sideways.
Agreed. Scarface, Star Wars.
Star Wars.
I wish I liked Scarface. Super 8, Goldeneye.
Super 8.
Yes, the Muppet Movie, Major League.
Major League.
Fourth Time, Stir of Echoes.
Stir of Echoes.
Love that movie. Lost in Space, Out of Sight.
Out of Sight.
Rituals, There's Something About Mary.
Not familiar with Rituals.
Lady in the Water, There's Something About Mary.
There's something about Mary.
Solo, A Star Wars Story, 101 Dalmatians.
Solo.
Okay. Full Denial, The Big Short.
The Big Short.
Yes. Evil Dead 2, Blue Streak.
Evil Dead 2.
Terminator Salvation, The Perfect Storm.
Perfect Storm.
The Imposter, The King of Kong.
Ooh, those are two really great documentaries. Two very different documentaries, but two very good documentaries. Man. The thing about The Imposter is the Dollop did the same story better. I'm gonna go with the King of Kong.
What is The Imposter?
The Imposter is about a French guy who pretends to be a kidnapped teenager from
Oh,
Texas.
yeah. I've seen that. Yeah. It's a Wonderful Life, Hospital.
Suddenly I want to see Eli Roth. It's a Beautiful Life. I don't know why.
Jerry Stewart in Hospital.
Weird.
Yeah.
It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah. Crocodile Dundee 2, Die Hard 2.
Die Hard 2 sucks and is still better than Crocodile Dundee 2.
Yeah. The Truman Show, Moonraker.
Truman Show.
You have way too much Bond in this thing.
Yeah, I know. But I mean, it's bound to happen. There's a million Bond
Yeah, there's
movies.
so many of them. Pretty Woman, True Lies.
True Lies.
Yeah. There's Something About Mary, Galaxy Quest.
There's Something About Mary.
Fantastic Beasts, Adventures in Babysitting.
Adventures in Babysitting.
Yes. Bridget Jones, The Edge of Reason, Constantine.
Bridget Jones.
There's so many of these that I don't have an opinion on.
Yeah.
Monty Python and the Holy Grail, Professional.
Monty Python.
Sorry, people, but I love the Professional. Go with Monty Python 2. United 93, Bruce Almighty.
United 93.
Yes. Vertigo Drive.
Vertigo.
Yeah.
But I did have to think about it.
I love Drive. Vertigo is like
Yeah.
one of the best of all time. Blast from the Past, Octopussy.
Laughs from the Past.
Can we name a movie Octopussy today?
I don't know. That's a good question.
The producers has a boy.
There's a show on TV with the word "fuck" in the title, so literally AMC has a show called "Kevin Can Go Fuck Himself."
I know, but it's not released to theaters.
Yeah, that's fair. Paths of Glory.
The full 9 yards, 101 Dalmatians.
The whole 9 yards.
Bewitched, the Lizzie McGuire movie.
There's not a human being on the planet that could answer that question.
The True Fishing with Gandhi. Is that how we end it?
Yeah.
All right. Finally, we got one. Instead of these throwaway titles or obvious ones.
Yeah. What would you have picked?
I've never seen the Lizzie McGuire movie, so I've never seen Bewitched. I don't know if I can honestly pick it. Probably the Lizzie McGuire movie, I gotta imagine, is better.
I mean, they're both pretty bad. I honestly couldn't dig low enough to choose.
Well, right, but one's made for kids and one's a Will Ferrell-ness. So that's why it would probably be Lizzie McGuire, but I haven't seen either one, so.
Well, that's what you should do this week, then.
Episode 500.
That's how we celebrate with the Lizzie McGuire movie.
Hilary Duff's back, the #1 star in Hollywood.
We got to please the algorithm. I mean, that's
yes, because she's the one that moves it.
The top of mind is Bewitched and Lizzie McGuire.
All right, we'll talk to you later.
Cool. See ya.
Bye.